Hello, everybody. Today I actually have a topic that I want to talk to you guys about, as you'll probably see in the title already. Um, why deck building is so crucially important. I'm not saying net deckers or net decking is bad in any sense of the way, because it's really not. It's just how the game is progressing. New players. Some people just don't want to take the time to build their decks because it takes too long. I agree with that at some points. But why though is making and building your own deck so important? Not a lot of people understand. A lot of the new people that come into the game don't understand. This video is mainly for them, for the more advanced players that already understand what I'm about to say. You guys don't have to watch this video, but I mean, if you guys thought that it was very helpful in any way, please give it a thumbs up and a like or a comment. Basically, why it's so important though is because as you're making your deck, you go and you look for these certain cards that you want to incorporate in your deck, and then as you're incorporating them, you understand, well, hey, this card combos off of this card pretty well, and and then you get to really feel for your deck, and then you start building the deck around certain cards, your win conditions to be more exact, like what cards can win you the duel in any sense of the way. Like BLS. If you're a Shadal player, then Construct is pretty. It can win you multiple different matchups just by him alone. And now that's one part of deck building. That's just one part, and the other part is knowing your deck so well because you've built it. Now, by knowing your deck very well, what other people assume to be bad hands or not the best hands could actually be the best hands and one of the hands you prefer in the deck, because you understand how to work around certain cards and manipulate whether they're bad cards or good cards at that predicament, at that, like, precise moment. That's why I actually prefer building my own decks. I prefer twinkering with them myself. Now, if you're net decking, like I said in the start of the video, net decking is not a bad thing, like everyone seems to say more than 90% of the time. But when you're net decking more than often and you never played the deck before, you're gonna lose a bunch of times with the deck, and you're gonna get frustrated with it. You're gonna be like, oh my god, whoever built this deck was just stupid. It clogs. It does this and this, that. It is going to happen a lot. And then as time progresses, you understand the deck more and more and more. Then you understand the guy's card choices, why he picked this, why he did this, his personal preferences. That's why a lot of decks, to most people, don't seem like they're any good, because they prefer to play other preferences to their playstyle, which is why net decking is a lot more complicated than actually building your own deck. Because then you have to understand the person that built it. You have to understand their thoughts, their preferences, the way they like to play the game. That's why a lot of people don't like net decking. Not because it's a newbie thing to do, but because it's a harder thing to do. Because when you're building your own deck, you legitimately take the time out to understand it. You know what your personal preference is. Whenever you're in a game, as I said earlier, if it's a bad hand to someone else, that could be a great hand to you, because you know how to play around that hand and manipulate it to your benefit. That's why building your own decks in this game is very critical nowadays. You have to understand. You have to understand that not everything revolves around the best deck of the format. Not everything revolves around the most skill. It also revolves around deck building as well. Because if you're not that good at deck building and you just threw a bunch of random cards into the deck without knowing what their capability is, what kind of combos they can pull off, and stuff of that nature, then odds are you're not going to do so hot. And that's a terrible thing to do. What you want to do is just build a random deck that you want to play, and then as time progresses, after the first couple of duels, you'll understand what needs to be done with it. You'll understand, well, okay, I need to get rid of this card, or okay, I need to get rid of that card, or vice versa. That's just how this game is starting to progress. How this game has been in the last couple of years. How the game has turned out. Deck building is a very crucial part in this game right now, and will be for a very long time. That's why a lot of these decks are tier, though, if you stop and you think about it, because all these people formulated what cards are the best cards to go into the deck. And if you notice, and you know, if you play on Dueling Network or even Dev Pro, you'll notice that everybody seems to incorporate different types of little cards that they prefer to play in the deck rather than other people. Some people won't play Maxi in their deck. Some people will play Effect Veilers. Some people will play Flying Sea. Some people will just choose to run traps over those cards. You know, it's just personal preference. What cards do you like the most? What cards have you used the most to understand them the way that they need to be understood? Stuff like that. Or some people even play a variety of those cards. Some people, like myself, I'll play two double Max E and double Flying Sea in most of my decks because they're so good of cards and of course, in this format now where it's all Stellanites, Shaddolls, VA, and Cliffords. So of course, I'm going to be running a lot of those cards. Now, now the thing is, the other thing about deck building is you get a lot of joy that knowing you made a deck. You get a lot of enjoyment when you make a brand new deck that not a lot of people play. Even if you make a certain deck, it may not be considered original, but in the sense of the way it also is still original. If that makes any sense to you guys at all, I'm not sure if it does or if it doesn't. But anyway, so basically, the point I'm trying to get across, though, guys, is that building your own deck is a very unique way and a pretty easy way to get better at the game. Now, why does it help you get better at the game? I'll go ahead and I'll jump you guys into that one too. Why it helps you get better at the game is one reason only, because you understand these cards a lot more. So when you run into them, you don't have such a hard time with them. Oh, should I negate it? Will this help him? What will this do for him? Every person does that from time to time when they don't know a card. But when you go ahead and you make so many decks, after you make one deck and then you go on to another deck and you make another deck and another deck and another, you understand the meaning of all these cards. What kind of combos are they capable of? No matter what predicament, no matter what deck that they're in, what kind of combos can they do? Is this card going to be dangerous for the future of this game? Do I have to stop to summon out, or do I just wait until the combos start going off? You'll understand that a lot better as the game progresses, and as you understand your decks better, as you understand cards better. So that's why I personally think that building a deck is more important than pretty much anything in this game right now. A lot of people saying knowing is the number one thing in Yu-Gi-Oh, which is semi-true, because, as long as you know the mechanics of the game, the basics of the game, chain links, stuff like that, when cards miss their timing, and, other things like that, which I'll be honest, sometimes I don't even know when cards miss their timing. It's not something every single Yu-Gi-Oh player knows. It's something that you'll learn throughout the game as it progresses, as you progress, because you and the game progress pretty much at the same time. Now, another thing that's so great about deck building, though, too, is you maintain a sort of originality. You're not like everybody else when you're building your own deck. Now, a lot of these people that say, oh, net decker, net decker, net decker, you guys need to be honest with yourselves. You've net decked twice or multiple times before. It doesn't matter if you just net decked and just took a couple cards out. It's still considered net decking. No matter which way you look at it, it's still considered net decking. So you shouldn't be bullies to other people who do it. Because some people legitimately do it because they don't feel like taking the 2-3 hours it takes to make a deck and make it good, rather than just net deck something and play it 4 or 5 times and understand it a little bit better and then know how to play it the proper way. But that's not the case, though. A lot of people just net deck because they don't feel like taking so much time and in doing so. So they just go find a deck that they like and they net deck it, and they change it as they progress along in the game. But anyway, this duel is, I think, coming to a closer. I'm not really sure, but I'll just go ahead and carry on with the commentary until it ends. Once it ends, I'll just go ahead and wrap the commentary up. But that's just my main reasons for I love building my decks. That's something I've actually learned in the past couple of years, just recently, that how good building your own decks can possibly be for the game, and not only that, but how good it can end up benefiting yourself in the long run, because when you're building these decks, you don't really know very much about the game at this point. When you're just starting to build your very own decks, you really don't understand very much about the game. And then when you're sitting there looking through all these cards, you're struggling because you can't think of anything that combos well with this card. Well, that's not a bad thing, guys. I mean, because there's so many cards in the game, you don't know how you can combo off with this card, that card, and this card. It's natural. It's nothing. There's nothing bad. There is absolutely nothing bad about it at all, whatsoever. Um, you throw in whatever you think combos the best with the card, and when that's not the right card, you do it all over again until you find the right combination of cards. And you don't have to play that in rated, guys. You can go in advanced on rated and just say know what you're doing. That's it. And as long as they know what you're doing, you shouldn't have a problem. And that way you don't lose any rating or anything like that, and you enjoy yourself. It's just the best thing. Or on Dev Pro, you can just go to a quick match or host a random game. It doesn't matter. The best place to probably learn from is going to be Dev Pro, because the cards automatically do what they're supposed to do. Whenever a card misses timing, they just miss the timing. There's no admins needed. There's no arguing needed. There's no, oh, well, you suck. Oh, well, you're a noob. Oh, you're this because you don't know a simple card ruling. There's all that is pretty much eliminated in Dev Pro. Well, of course, not all of it, but most of it. Now, Dev Pro does have its glitches here and there. The way cards work on Dev Pro aren't always true. Their effects are sometimes very glitchy because the people that import them to Dev Pro and update them, they sometimes don't know what the extent of the effect is themselves. So, like, for example, one card will say search out one specific spell card, and they may incorporate it like as search out Heavy Storm, Harpy's Feather Dust, or whatever spell you want. That's happened to me actually a couple times on Dev Pro, where I'm only able to search out a specific card, and it'll give me like access to all these different cards, and I'm just like, okay then, that's random, and that's a glitch and needs to be fixed. That's happened to me a couple times on Dev Pro, and it's very frustrating because sometimes it's how you can lose, because people actually tend to just be like, okay, I'm gonna cheat and I'm gonna take this, that, or some bullshit, whatever. It doesn't matter, but just to incorporate your own deck style of play, it's a good thing because you understand what kind of decks you really truly prefer, whether you prefer meta, unmeta, whether you prefer burn, stall, katakuri, Kawakimaru, spellcaster type decks, warrior type spellcaster, whatever the deck is, beast warrior, just beast, fairies, it doesn't matter. You understand while you're building these decks what decks you really prefer the most. And if you stop and you think about it, it's actually a good way to get better at the game as well, because as I said way earlier in the video, you'll understand all these random tech cards that some people choose over, the ideal cards that you're supposed to play. Because sometimes those ideal cards aren't the best, and sometimes your tech choices can win you games. That's just how this game is made and how it's progressing. Not every card that's good in the game is technically going to be good for your deck. Like BLS. BLS will not every deck. He will not be good in any deck. Obviously, he's not going to be good in every single deck. If you're making a rock stun deck, he's not going to be very good in a rock stun deck. If you're making a remove from play deck, he's not going to be that good for your deck. You know what I mean? If you're making a deck where it doesn't really thrive off of lights and darks and grave, he's not going to be that great. He's probably just going to be a dead draw. Same thing goes with Dark Arm, Chaos Sorcerer, or any of those other cards that require lights and darks in your grave to summon it. Those cards may not always be that great of tech choices in certain decks. But note, they are great cards in themselves, but they cannot always be incorporated. They cannot always be incorporated to be great cards in certain positions. That's the whole point of what I'm trying to get at. Pretty sure that this game is wrapping up at this point. Yep, guess. Oh, wait, nope, not yet. Guess not, it's still going. Uh-oh, what's going on here? Well, you know what, guys, I'm just going to go ahead. My point got across. I don't really have very much else to talk about in the video. So we're just going to go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and let you guys watch this duel as it finishes out. Hope you guys enjoyed. This is Anthony. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Anthony out, guys.